Thank you for coming to this workshop. You're welcome to go help yourself to pizza and something to drink while we're working away. The workshop's called How to Improve Your Grades. Let me just get back into the presentation itself so you can actually see it. And it's part of a larger series of student workshops for students designed to help you sort of exceed and excel in university. So this is but one of many. My name is Dr. Janice Newton. I am the Vanier College Academic Life Coordinator, which means I'm assigned to develop programming that will help students, particularly we're focusing on first-year students, do well in their courses, but pretty much any student in a year level could take advantage of these workshops. Today's workshop I'm going to focus on kind of, I wanted to call this, so you're disappointed in your grades, and they said, no, you can't be pessimistic, but in fact, I kind of think that often that's what motivates a student to come to a workshop. You got a grade and you didn't like it. And that could mean different things to different people. Students who are used to getting A's and A pluses, if they get a B plus, they may feel terrible about that grade. Other people, may think that it's the F that is a terrible grade. So I'm going to talk about, among other things, the impact of your grades and what that means. So I've basically got 5 points to talk about. Do I belong? What went wrong? The gold in feedback, which often I find students don't pay attention to, which is kind of a shame because it's like throwing out the best of. I'm going to talk about York resources that can help you, and then I'm going to talk about making connections. So, and if you're wondering about the blue t-shirt people, their t-shirts are speaking what they are, and they're going to help in a moment. Okay, so to start with the first point, the question is, do I belong? And I'm reading, let me switch to the other notes. And a lot of students, when they get their first grade in university, they feel disappointed because it isn't the same as the grades they were used to getting in high school. Or if they're adult students, they're not used to getting negative feedback. Sometimes adult students are really successful in their careers. They come to university, their first grade is kind of wow, and sometimes it leads people to think, well, maybe I don't belong in university. Maybe this is really meant for someone else, but not for me. And what I want to stress is that that's not the case. That if you ask many faculty members if they, somewhere along the line, had a terrible paper, either an F or a D, for many of us, that's true. My first paper that I wrote in university, this is, of course, in the dinosaur age when we didn't even have computers, was written on a typewriter. I was lazy and sloppy, and I didn't want to go back and retype the whole page because I made some errors. And my prof got a red pen out, and he completely marked up the first page of my first essay. It was a political science course. And at the bottom of it, in red ink that practically broke the paper, went through, he wrote, "Do not ever do this again. This is not acceptable university level work." And I, whoa, what do I do now? I don't belong. And I had that feeling, maybe I just don't belong here. But what I did is I picked myself up. I decided, okay, he's identified errors that I have made. Let's look at them. I went through each one of them to figure out a lot of it was punctuation, grammar, things like that. And I started keeping track of those mistakes and that feedback and making sure I wouldn't do it again. So you can survive an initial bad grade. The trick is, what do you do different? What do you do different from what you did the first time out? So early failures can lead to later success. Surprise, surprise, I'm actually a political science professor. I've been in this career for a long, long time. It is a good fit for me. So the early low grades don't have to signal you don't belong in the course or the program. But it does probably signal you need to do some things differently. So, and part of that involves analyzing what went wrong and, picking up, doing it differently from there on in. So, this quote, I just said this, but I think it's true. The best lessons in life often come from our failures. And if you can learn from those failures, you're not sort of dead in the water. It actually means that you can progress and maybe do better in the long run. So, and I love this quote from Churchill. He, of course, said these words in the middle of World War II, but success is not is not final. Every success you have could be followed by a failure, and not every failure is fatal. The key is you have to find the courage to continue. And that's what matters at the end of the day. And that's, I think, an incredibly powerful, insightful statement to make. You got to find it in yourself when you get that disappointing grade to get your act together and think about what went wrong and think about what to do differently. So taking stock, what went wrong? You all should have a little index card there. I want you to spend a few minutes and write down, give me 3 things. Reflect on a grade that you got, perhaps a recent grade, that you were disappointed in, and tell me 3 things that you could have done differently that would have led to a different outcome. What are 3 things you could have done differently? Okay, I'm going to go through, we did this, another version of this workshop for the Children's Studies program earlier in the week. I'm going to go through their top points that they mentioned and see if they match to the points you've raised. So their number 1 point was, I thought this was interesting, don't leave your work to the last minute. And probably that's almost more important than all the other ones, because if you have the time to fix things as you go, you probably will do better. If you don't have the time, you probably can't be successful. So that's actually, they were wise, they picked that as number 1. You pretty much are dooming yourself if you do everything at the last minute, and we all know that. Put more time into the research and writing. So take more time to actually do the revisions and the writing, or more time on the actual research. Makes sense. Have someone else proofread. Have someone else read your paper and give you feedback on it. Brilliant. Very important, and then at least you get to respond. Somebody else could see some of the problems, you could fix them. Do the required reading, I like this one, more carefully. That instead of just kind of skimming the reading or not doing it at all, so that's why I put the dots. Some of them said you have to do the required reading to get better grades, duh. But you also have to do it with care. And what else? Read the question carefully. Make sure you've really understood the question before you proceed. Another one, take better notes. And I will give you, I'm throwing it out there. I notice nobody's got a laptop up taking notes. You've got pens and papers, which is excellent, because in fact the brain research says if you take notes by hand with pen on paper, you actually remember more and remember better, and you will get better grades. If you manually write out, it's to do with the way your brain and hand connect and coordinate. That assists in memory. If you type, it disappears. You don't have the memory recall that you would if you wrote it out. So I'm kind of impressed you're all sitting here without the laptop up, but with the pen and paper in hand. Final one well, maybe I'll stop. Is there anything you had on your list that we could add that isn't here? Anything different on your list from what these students said? No? Have I kind of captured everything here? We've exhausted the heads nodding? Okay. I have one more to add. You need to focus when you're working. That if you're doing your homework on the bus, if you're distracted by a stereo or television going at the same time, or in this case I was trying to read, and my new kitten, Rizzo, he's Rizzo, he was fascinated with my pen because I was marking my book up, and he just wanted to fight with my pen while I was trying to read, and it was driving me crazy because I couldn't concentrate. So whatever the distraction may be in your world, know that when you're studying, when you're writing, when you're doing research, you have to bring focus to the work that you're doing. And that means getting the earbuds out of your ears, because frankly, all the scientific research shows that if you have those distractions, you are not learning at the level you could. Okay, so I think it's a real challenge for students today, because there are these well-financed, rich companies that are investing billions of dollars into creating distractions for you. And it's called, iPhone and Facebook, and those are all built in. They are designed to take you away from whatever you want to focus on. And they want you to focus on their tools and technology and that stuff. So, think about how you can put that stuff to sleep while you work, and you will, I think, get more mileage. So I guess the message there is These are all behavioral things. All of the things that are on that list, and I assume that you wrote down, they're not new things necessarily. They're all things that are under your control. It's your behavior that's going to, altering your behavior can have an impact on those things, which could lead to better grades. Now, I'm going to guess that for the people who are here, you're not the people I'm about to talk about. But if you're the type of person who really always puts things off at the last minute, who likes to skip class, who doesn't ever do the readings, I think you need to find your courage to actually settle down and do the work. And I've included on your handout a link to this, this website. It's a 6-minute. I'm not going to play it, but unless we end up having time at the end. But it's a wonderful video that's a teacher just saying, I woke up at 4 in the morning and here's what you really need to hear. And he just lays it out. And it's a very, very powerful piece of prose. Just trying to get to the students who are skipping class, who are not doing the reading, who are kind of blowing off these opportunities. And if you find yourself in a moment where you need to kind of beef up your courage, I think this is a great video to do that. If this link doesn't work, you can just find what students need to hear. So the next thing I want to talk about is feedback. And this is probably the most important thing. I mean, it's really important that students focus on feedback. So for every essay you get, every exam, you will get some form of feedback that will tell you you did this well and you didn't do so well on this. And you need to pay attention to that feedback. It dismays me utterly that often when I grade essays and I say you can come and pick them up and I'm in my office for these 3 days and hours, and students don't even bother. They care that the grade got posted, but they won't even bother to come and pick up the essay. And what you're doing in that moment is completely foregoing the possibility of learning from an experience and building better skills in terms of doing your assignments. So I would say you need to track the feedback on all of your assignments. Have a little separate binder. In my case, it was a little address book where every time I got an error thing from a prof, whether it was about argument or it was about grammar or spelling or punctuation, I wrote it in that book. And I would just cruise through the book to remind myself, I always get these words spelled wrong. That was a big thing for me. A lot of students in university, the words that sound the same, but are spelled differently and mean different things, homonyms, like its and its, which one has the apostrophe, which one doesn't, there, here. Doesn't matter what it is, keep track of those error messages that you get from your profs. And figure out, even if you don't understand, so why did I need a comma there? Go in and ask. Find out why. Understand why they gave you the feedback they did. And keep track of that so that next time around, when you've got a draft of your paper, you can go back to your feedback book and just say, have I done this? Have I done this? Have I got this right this time? That's how you learn how to be a better writer or a better whatever. Second is talk to your grader. Whoever graded the paper or the assignment in your course, go in and make an appointment with them. And sit down and make sure that you've understood what they've said. They may give you very little feedback, but give you a D, so go in and make sure they give it to you verbally. So why was this a D and not a C or a B? Tell me what was so wrong with it. I don't see a whole lot of feedback here. Give me, and listen to what they say. That's a moment where you can learn. Clarify why you lost those marks. What does it mean about what you could do differently next time? And just keep a record of those things so that you're kind of learning from your mistakes instead of just letting them kind of float in the wind. And I think a lot of students have this instinct that if it's a bad grade, you don't even want to look at the paper. Right? I don't know if you've ever, I felt like that. That's okay, so set it aside for 2 days, but then come back to it and make sure that you understand why you did poorly. It is not a judgment on you, it is a judgment simply on that one piece of work. You can do better. And you have to remember that, right? On every graded piece of work, it isn't about you, it's about what that piece of work did in that moment in time for that assignment. And you can do better. So I'm going to give some examples. So I'll use essays. I apologize if part of this is about math. That's kind of out of my purview, but we certainly have people here who might be able to help with that. So some of the typical feedback we would give to students on a first-year paper are things like, you've got no thesis statement. It's not well organized, very typical feedback, not well organized. Your argument throughout is unclear, contradictory, or not developed. You have sloppy grammar and spelling. Those are components that you could see. So it may be that you're getting feedback like that and you don't know, well, what do I do now? Like, okay, so my argument is not organized. I don't know how to do that. I thought I had organized it. I don't, you know. So you've got questions about how to go about improving on those things. And the key is that York has an embarrassment of riches to help you with this, right? Whatever the nature of that feedback is, we have help for you. But the key is you have to get up out of your bed, chair, desk, and go contact either come to a workshop like this or go to the library or go to the resources that are designed to help you. So I'm going to talk about some of those York resources. Number one is you can come to workshops like this. This one happens to be about how do you get your act together to improve your grades, but more specifically, there are workshops on essay writing, multiple workshops on essay writing. Go to them. There are workshops on how to take multiple choice tests. Go to them. There are workshops on how to do exams. Go to them. Like, you need to make the time to go out, and the key is you may think, well, I did all that stuff in high school, I don't need to do it again. Aha, things roll differently at the university level. And you kind of need to learn the culture of what it means at a university level. So don't assume you already know all this, because you may have learned some things in high school. They may not be the same things you need to learn to do here. So we're just through Vanier alone, we are offering future workshops. You will get email messages about them on how to improve what you learn from your readings, which often for students is key in first year. They feel very confused. They don't know what to focus on. We're going to have a workshop on how to, do readings. Effective time management. That rule number one back there of what people, they leave it to the last minute. That's probably because your time management skills need some work. So go to a time management workshop. Do you know how to reference properly? Often first year students get told that you either haven't done it properly or you've plagiarized. Well, those are serious issues that you need to actually go to a workshop so that you can learn how to do this properly. Doing research. You definitely need to learn how to use the York Library resources. You can't assume that, oh, I've done research before, I know what a library is a library, they're all the same. No, they're not. They're absolutely not all the same. And the way the York Library system works is going to be different from any other university. And there's tons of help there and ways to get you help. You need to be connecting with those. So we've got a library workshop on that. We'll have one on essay writing. In fact, we're going to be offering a workshop on essay writing for every single discipline program that's affiliated with Vanier. So there'll be one for business and society, there'll be one for economics, there'll be one for philosophy. So I'd encourage you to go to the one that's specific for your discipline. And we're scheduling those so they don't conflict with the first year courses in those programs. Learn from your lectures and your tutorials. How do you actually learn in a big lecture? Some students have trouble kind of listening and tracking. They don't know what's important. They take a lot of notes, but they come out kind of, I don't know what the main idea was. So we've got a workshop that'll help you build your listening skills in lectures and tutorials, so you get the most out of those lectures and tutorials. And then, of course, I mentioned plagiarism. All of these workshops, you will get emails advertising them, and we will be posting a video of the workshop, so you can go back and look at it if you couldn't make it to it. And the handouts will all be available online on the Vanier website. So you can always, if you missed one, you can always go kind of virtually attend it if you want. So what are some of the real concrete? This one, I can't speak highly enough, Spark. It's Student Papers and Academic Resources Kit, I think is what it stands for, but Spark is easier to remember. I've given you the link there. It is actually kind of belongs in the library. That's kind of where it's housed, although it's an internet thing. But definitely around any of the issues to do with writing essays or doing research, this should be where you go. This has an amazing collection of resources, and I'm just going to take you to it now. I want to show you a couple of things. So I just typed Spark, and it'll be the first thing to come up. There it is, Spark. Okay. And it has, under getting started, it's got, 5 bullets. You have to click this last one to catch the 5th one. Exploring, that's kind of the research part, gathering notes, research strategy, essay structure, and then pulling it together, bibliographies, writing strategies, revising, editing. And I'm going to just click on, I believe it's on under editing, if I'm going to find the correct one. So ask others to read your essay. So if you're going to ask a friend to read, you want to kind of know what to ask them to look for. So they give you guidance on what should you be asking your friend to look for so that you can get feedback that will help you improve your paper, right? Often students ask very generic, not helpful, can you tell me if it flows? I like my honey to flow maybe, but essays need to do something a little more muscular than that. So these are excellent, excellent tips, and these were designed by York faculty. They are now used internationally, right? Other universities are tapping into this website as a source for their students improving their skills. So I would say everybody needs to become familiar with this, and they're really designed for people who are in first year, or upper level students can use it as well, so that you can kind of transition into what are the academic assumptions about what you need to be doing that your faculty member may or may not be talking about explicitly. So that's Spark. And the next one I want to talk about is, I'm going to go back to the next one is the Writing Center. And the Writing Center is in the Ross building. You can just go to that link and it'll tell you, where and what. And again, it's offering you a series of things that could help you. The one that I think students most are drawn to is the one-on-one assistance. You can book an hour-long tutorial session with a writing instructor who will spend time with you going over a draft of your paper, an outline of your paper, whatever stage your paper's at, they'll help you talk through what needs to be done. They will not, you have to book those well in advance because you can imagine they get booked up. So I told my students first week of September, your essay's going to be due in October. If you want to help, you need to book it now to get that October appointment. So you might want to think now for next term, if you've got an essay due in March, book your appointment now so you've got one lined up. They also do workshops on all aspects of essay writing, and I would encourage you to go to some of those workshops. That's actually a typo on my part, excuse me. They will teach you how to edit. It's not a typo. They will teach you how to edit. They won't edit your paper for you, right? Because the point is you need to learn the skills. So they're not going to sit there and clean up your paper. They're going to sit there and teach you what you need to do. And I would add on that note, if any of you have turned off your spell checker and your grammar style checker in Word, big mistake. Turn it back on and pay attention. Because there's nothing more annoying as an instructor to read a paper where the student has obviously shut off their spell checker and their style checker and ignored all the feedback that could have improved this paper. For this, you really are going to get it's very dismaying to read such a paper. So that's the Writing Center. The ESL Open Learning Center, for anyone whose English is a second language, again has similar kinds of assistance there. What they do add is they have small group workshops, though, that will help you with your speaking skills. So they do additional kinds of assistance. And I would suggest if that's your concern, you need to reach out to that center. And all of these are on the York website. You can just type in ESL Open Learning, bing, you're on their website, and you can link up to any of those resources that you want. And then finally, the library resources. This comes from the learning, we have something called the Learning Commons, which is housed in the library, and it is there to help you with anything to do with research in any of your courses. Every discipline will have a librarian that is specific for that discipline. So whatever your program is, you all should be reaching out to that librarian who's in your discipline to get help when doing your essays. They also offer workshops and they also offer help with referencing one of the workshops that we will be mounting as part of the Vanier series. And I really encourage first-year students to pick up on this, because whenever I hear the third or fourth-year students discovering it late in their course, they're going, damn, why did I learn that first year? And there's programs for doing referencing, so you don't ever have to type a bibliography again. And those programs know how to put it into proper format. And you can use them from the get-go as you're doing your research. You just download that information and it's ready for you to use in your essay. And it can be configured. Let's say one prof wants you to do APA reference style, another one's MLA. One click and it's fixed. So this is an amazing resource, and that's all through the library. These are all wonderful services through the library. So, so to review, I'm just going to pause here, okay? You need to think about what went wrong. Some of it is simply within your control. It's your behavior. Did you sleep in and not bother doing any of the homework or showed up to class? I don't know. You figure that out, fix it. Have you looked at your feedback? Have you thought through how to respond to that carefully? Have you understood it and responded to it? Reach out to the resources on campus that can help you with the specific problem you have. There is also a math, there's a math lab to help you if it's mathematical kind of things. And then the fourth thing that's really important is make connections. And that's where this part. So we have a number of faculty members in the audience. You want to wave your hands, faculty members? Okay, we've got one. And we've got 2 peer mentors. And I'm going to, so this is, I'm blank. I'm sorry. Mark? You're going to make me sweat this one out, are you? There you go. I was not remembering the first name, I was remembering the last name. So Mark Peacock is the undergrad director for the BUSO program. Am I getting this right? My mind is tracking. Okay. For BUSO. And what we're going to do now is break up, and I'm going to ask my other 2 peer mentors to help. So how many of you here are BUSO students? Anybody? Nobody? 1. Great. Mark, you're going to have a conversation. The other 2 peer mentors are going to join. Maybe if we could put a few more students around a table, or maybe I'll ask you to join the peer mentors to have a conversation about what kinds of issues you want follow up on, and I will help as well. But the point is, when I say the 5th thing to do is do not kind of be dismayed with your grade and not reach out and talk to someone. You have to reach out and talk to someone, okay? And whether it be the tutor who graded it, the actual professor or instructor in the course, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to go to your professor's office hours and talk about the assignment. Talk about what went wrong. How could I do it differently? That's their job. We are paid very well to do that. It is in our job description. And the sad thing is that we can't chase you down. You have to track us down to our office hours. And the sad thing is, many of us, Mark, you'll agree, right? We sit in our office hours and nobody shows up, right? And it means students are wasting an opportunity to make a connection, to get help on writing your assignments. And I have to add, that connection is going to help when you want a job reference after 4 years, right? Or one into grad school and you need a reference letter. If somebody's known you from year 1, that's a huge bonus. So you need to reach out and connect to people, whether it's the tutors, instructors, a peer mentor. We've got 60 volunteer peer mentors working at Vanier, can help you with all of this kind of stuff. Even turning to a classmate in a course and saying, you want to go for coffee, let's talk about, that's a connection. So or form your own study group. There's actually lots of research that shows that if students actually work in groups, they get better grades. Who knew? Because you talk about stuff and somebody says, no, that's not right, no, that's right. You have a debate about it, you figure it out. So working in study to reach out and make connections. You can't do this university experience like a solo being floating in the universe. Right? You got to reach out, talk to people, and you can get help from many different quarters. So right now what I want you to do is make a connection with someone. We'll divide it up. We've got our 2 peer mentors here. We've got Mark in the back. I will sit at this front table. I want you to join one of these tables, and we'll have a conversation for just about 10 minutes about what are some of the challenges you're facing, and maybe we can offer solutions, okay? And then we'll come back. I've got a final part that I want to talk about at the end. So, okay, so I have one final thing to hand out, if I could ask my wonderful peer mentors to do this. So I'm just going to, this is to give you something quick and easy. I'm back on again? Quick and easy to remember about improving for success. And this I credit Peter Cummings with, he allowed me to use this. So he came up with, you know, kind of like David Letterman, the top 10 whatevers. So get involved, attend classes. It's kind of a no-brainer. If you're not going to class, you're not going to be successful. Read everything. The required reading is actually required. And read to understand, right? Manage your time. In our discussion, time management was a really crucial thing, and it is a challenge. And not just for students, but for faculty members as well. You have to put some thought into improving your time management skills. Focus. Really, that's a big challenge. Like I say, there's a lot of things competing for your focus. Meet with your professors. We don't bite. I haven't heard of a single professor that bites. Have you? No, they don't bite. Meet with other students. Connect with fellow students. Have conversations with students about what's going on in the course. Have fun with them as well, but that experience of being able to have conversations is very useful. All the resources we've talked about, you have to reach out and go get them. Okay? I deliberately did not include the room addresses because you know what? You got to do it. It's up to you. You can link to it. I've given you the web link. Now you do the rest. Write effectively. If you don't know how to do that, use these resources to learn how to do that. And then finally, question everything. Like if you think you don't understand, or even if you think you understand, it's totally legit to say, now let me see if I got this right. This is what you want us to do, da, da, da. Be questioning, be probing. That's what it means to be at university, is to be curious and open-minded and reaching out. And the more you kind of get into that groove, I think the stronger your grades will be, because you will begin to actually get what it means to be an academic. And I'm going to leave you with a final thought from Maya Angelou, which I think is quite wonderful, and I think it relates to this idea of, if you get poor grades or you feel challenged, sure, you may encounter defeats in university life. There'll be nothing compared to the challenges you will meet after university. You will have much deeper, more horrible things happening to you later in life. But you must not be defeated by these things, because these are the experiences that make you who you are. And it's really how you respond to them that is the real kind of grist of what's important, right? So be thoughtful, reflect on what went wrong, reflect on what you could do different, listen to the feedback from others, reach out to the resources at York, and connect to the people who are here to help. Because we want nothing more than for you to be successful. I am thrilled when I have a class where all of my students get A's, and I've had them. This is awesome. This delights every instructor on the planet. It will be thrilled if we could see you all excelling. But we can't do it for you. You have to take these steps to make it happen for you. Okay, so I hope, do we have any outstanding, is anyone sitting here thinking, I had a question I didn't have answered? Is there, in the back, there should be a handout on, did you all get an evaluation form? The yellow one? Yeah, okay, so maybe you don't want to say it out loud, but please use the evaluation form. We do look at your feedback in order to improve the workshops that we offer. So we really do want to hear back from you how the workshop went for you. And I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes to continue the conversation. I know there's a couple of students who wanted to carry on, and maybe Mark can do the same. And that's it. So, and you can just hand them to me. Thank you.